Terry
Yeah.
Keillor. Welcome to this little wee chat about what you do as a clinical hypnotherapist. I'd like to just invite you to sort of share a bit about how long you've actually been practicing as a clinical hypnotherapist.
Well, it's been quite some time, although initially for quite a number of years I was working in the IT industry, and so I was really just doing it part-time. And but I originally did my training in hypnotherapy in 1994, so it was a fair way down the track. And but it's really probably more in the last 10, 12 years that I've really focused on hypnotherapy as my main modality.
Through that time, why do you think people go to a hypnotherapist?
Well, I found from the statistics I've gathered on my own clientele and everything that about 70% of the people are coming because of anxiety issues. A lot of people think, hey, people's coming to, people coming to quit smoking or stop vaping or cut down their drinking or, dealing with habitual aspects that they want to change. And certainly that is an important aspect of what we do with people. But it's really more the underlying issues of why people would, be using addictive substances. And that almost always they come back to us having anxiety issues, and these are usually some embedded fear-related aspects.
A lot of times people sort of make a booking to a hypnotherapist, think they're going to just lie down and be fixed. So how do you sort of journey someone through if they're suffering from maybe anxiety, or they're looking to get help to overcome an addiction? What do you sort of do with them that's going to help maybe the people who've got that kind of a question in their mind? So how do you journey them through to success?
Yeah, well, I mean, we're kind of conditioned in life to think that we're going to go to a doctor and they're going to give us a few pills and that's going to make us right. But when it comes to the mind, we're not so sure about that. We can't go to a doctor and they can't give us pills. And there's a lot of people on medications and stuff like that for things like anxiety. But what people find is that it doesn't actually resolve the anxiety, the issues. It may kind of, plaster over the cracks, but the underlying issues, the underlying mental thoughts and conditions and stuff like that created the anxiety are still there. It's not dealing with that. So we do get a lot of people that come along that either have been on medications or even still are on medications. And some of them have, gone to other talk therapy modalities and found that it really hasn't resolved their problems. So it really comes right back to dealing with the causative issues that are behind these anxieties.
When we're looking at talk therapy versus hypnotherapy, how would you, I guess, explain the difference?
Well, I think it really comes down to how our minds work. I usually try and relate to a model of where, everybody knows they got a conscious mind because it thinks it's the boss and it's the part we're working with mostly. And science has shown that when we're consciously thinking and actively thinking, our mind frequencies, dominant brain frequencies, are around what they call the beta level, from 13 to 30 cycles. And in that state of mind where, thoughts are going here, there, everywhere. I mean, you're listening to me speaking now, but there'll be other thoughts that are coming in all the time. And your conscious mind's kind of flitting, much like a computer can flit from one program to another. Then there's another aspect of our mind, the subconscious. And this is the one that we focus on with hypnotherapy. Most talk therapies, you are talking in your normal state of mind and you're in that conscious state of mind. With hypnotherapy, we're focusing on actually getting the mind to move into that, what we call the alpha state, from about 7 to 13 cycles. And in that state, we can more easily access subconscious programs and issues, and even go deeper and even connect with more what we would call superconscious states of our mind. Others would call it intuition, your higher self, your spiritual self. Doesn't really matter. You don't have to have any belief structure here, but there is a part of our mind that's a bit wiser. We go to bed with a problem, we wake up with a solution, we say, oh, where's that come from? Or we'll get a certain hunch. Sometimes it wakes us up in the middle of the night and we think, oh yeah, that's the answer. So there's a part of our mind that's working through these things and is underlying all that. And that's the part that really has the answers for us. So the effectiveness of hypnotherapy comes from the fact that we are getting the person to alter their state of thinking to be in that sort of alpha state. And it's a very resourceful state. What you find is the people, we have the problems, but we also have the answers. The person that comes in the door has the answers to their problems. Our job is just to help them to connect with the parts of their mind that have those answers. And so that's the main difference.
We're looking at how many sessions someone might come in for in comparison to maybe normal counselling, psychotherapy, or that kind of journey where the talk therapy is predominantly the way to go versus the hypnotherapy. What do you tend to do with people? What would you recommend?
Well, it is very much individual, and it's really determined by the person's progress and what they want to work and achieve. I remember looking at statistics from the National Health in England, and they said that you would go to a hypnotherapist from 1 to 6 sessions. If you went to somebody for behavioral therapy techniques, cognitive behavioral therapy techniques, generally it's like 6 to 12. If you're dealing with counseling and stuff like that, again, it's probably 6 to 12 sessions. But if you're dealing with a psychotherapist, it can often be 1 year plus. And I even know one psychotherapist was talking about one of her clients that had come to her for once a week for 10 years and paying it out of her own money as well. So I thought, well, what you have is a very codependent relationship there that isn't really achieving the most effective outcomes for the person. So that's generally what happens. If a person's coming to quit smoking, one session can be quite effective, and that could be all they actually need. Generally, though, it's a good idea to have a couple of 3 sessions just to ensure that the new patterns of behavior are embedded and you're carrying through with them. If it's a person's got some serious anxiety or panic issues or whatever, you may be talking about 3 or 4 sessions, or maybe even up to 6 sessions, depending on how much they've got to unpack.
Yeah. So when we're looking at your ideal client, or the sort of area that you might specialize in, have you got a particular area that you like to work with?
Well, it's not a specific area, because I just take anybody that really has any issues that they want to work with, whether it is issues to do with anxiety or maybe aspirational issues. They may want to actually, move into some new line of work, or they may be actually wanting to, they're not happy with, they're not motivated by what they're doing in life, and they want to get a better idea of where they want to go. And those kind of clients are quite fun to work with, because they're trying to move towards something, towards a state of mind or being, change their lifestyle. And what happens, you find that they already know what they should be doing or which way they should be moving, and they often just need self-encouragement to actually take that step and get a little bit more clarity about just really what are the underlying drivers or motivators. Where are those passions that are going to help them really move into a lifestyle that's going to really, be beneficial for them and others.
I think hypnotherapy has this wonderful eclectic range of things that we can kind of help people with, and often people teach us what they want, really, and then we apply that skill set, right? So how effective is hypnotherapy in your opinion?
It's quite amazing at times. I mean, I could take a case of a young lad of about 11, and he had a problem with bedwetting, and which does affect up to 10% of 10-year-old particularly boys have more of a problem than girls. But so he came along and with his parent. In the first session, he was quite capable of going to a really relaxed state. So we worked on it like his body was like a puppy he was training. And so it really helps for them to see that their problem is just an issue with training the body. It's not something about them that's personally failing to achieve something. He was a particularly deep sleeper, and I think that was a lot of the problem, that he just didn't wake up if he needed to go to the toilet or anything like that. So we just worked with that and wetting the bed every night. After that one session, he had about 2 or 3 dry nights in that week. And in the following week, he came along, and I thought I'll just use a little different technique this time. And I just asked him to go so deep that I could talk to his higher self and just nod his head when he was ready to talk. And yeah, after about 2 minutes going really deep, he nodded his head. And I said to him, so how can we help to be dry right through the night? And he answered about himself in the third person. He said, it's his belief that he can do it. And so I said, well, can you help with that? And it was like talking to another person through that person, but it was really connecting with that higher wisdom of his self. You might think it's a bit freaky, but he said, yeah, sure, we can help. And I thought, well, why didn't you just do it anyway? But it's almost like we have to ask. Yeah. And it's like we got a free will for the conscious self and the subconscious, and there's a part of us that we have to engage. So he did, and we had him then project himself forward in the future, seeing himself successfully sleeping through the night, saying how he can now go to friends' stay places. And so he visualized for himself outcomes that were beneficial for him. And in that receptive state, that kind of is like a subconscious program that locks in and says, hey, this is a success program. Anyway, the consequence was after that, yeah, he was dry every night. So it was great.
Nice. I think it surprises clients how powerful they are actually. And sometimes hypnotherapy is an opportunity to let the client remember that they actually are all the time hypnotizing themselves. And in that way, I'd just like to ask you a question about the control and how the mind functions, and how hypnotherapy can help you to understand that better. So do you want to explain that a little bit?
Yeah, well, it's, as you said, there's a deeper aspect of our mind. Our minds are quite amazing, really. What you can find, and sometimes I work with clients that way, is you find that you can actually regress even right back to the time before you were born, and when you're planning your life and all the relationships that you want to have and the experiences you want to have, and what the main lessons of that life are to be. And, for some people, I think, wow, that's a bit weird, but it's actually, there's nobody I've ever come across that hasn't got that capability. We all know, say, mediums and psychic people that seem to be able to access information that they shouldn't have access to. And in some ways, it's like a computer, it works great on its own, but if you connect it to the internet, suddenly has access to all this information, all this intelligence, and on the internet. Well, we kind of like have an internet of minds, and what we find is we can actually use these techniques to actually help us connect to our intuitional self and get those answers. And sometimes I think some of the reasons that people end up coming along to see people like myself and yourself, it's because of that higher aspect of themselves says, hey, you need to move down this path. You need to learn about this. In some respects, we're like a shaman. We're helping people connect with that greater intelligence that they have, help a lot of problems on the path.
Nice. So what would be a takeaway that you'd like to share with people out there around, I guess, what you would like them to know most about hypnotherapy and hypnotherapists and you, and how you approach things. Is there anything that you'd like people to really understand that maybe you haven't covered already?
Yeah, well, I think just addressing some of the underlying concerns that people have. First of all, people tend to come to a hypnotherapist as a last resort after they've exhausted all the other possibilities and they haven't worked for them. They often think you've got a magic wand, you're going to wish that, swish that over them, and their problems will go away, and they'll forget entirely about this or that or whatever. But it's not that. It's really about changing how we feel about our life, how we feel about ourselves. And what a hypnotherapist is trying to do is help you connect to those resources that you have already and help you walk out the door with some tools. So it's not like you're going to have to keep coming back to somebody to help you resolve issues and everything like that. A lot of our process of what we do is teaching a person how their mind works and how they can work effectively with their mind to create and co-create the kind of lives that they want to live. And so that's the most rewarding aspect of that. And to see people walk out of the door, feeling entirely different about themselves and their life.
Nice. Well, Terry, if someone wanted to come to see you, you are a member of the New Zealand Association of Professional Hypnotherapists, and we have a directory there, but I'm sure that you also have a website and a way of people directly connecting to you. So do you want to share your details? So if someone wants to come in and connect with you and do some journeying with you, they can.
Sure, that'd be great. So my website is www.empower-u.net. So, and the reason I gave it that name was that's really what we're here to do, is to empower you. So you can contact me that way, or you can just just search on my name, Terry Keillor. You might find a lot of links to some of the books are written that are published on Amazon about some of my experiences and some interesting journeys that I've done with hypnotherapy and how our minds work. So that's also, available. And look, just don't hesitate. If you think that it might be worthwhile for you, you will find it very beneficial one way or the other to go along and see a hypnotherapist. And your investment is really a very small aspect, very small financial outlay for the changes it'll make for your life. Yeah, so hopefully we'll get to see some of you people that are listening. But otherwise, safe journey.
Thank you so much, Terry, for giving us some insight into what you do. And I'm sure that people will go away, have a look, and get in contact with you. But thank you again for your time, and thank you again for your service to hypnotherapy and being a big part of supporting others as hypnotherapists as well, because you've been the president of the NZAPH. And you've always been there. You're the current membership secretary as well, but you're always there on the committee and doing what you can to help promote, hypnotherapy in New Zealand. So thank you again for all the years of service. We appreciate that.
Well, thank you, Meredith. Hey, it's been a wonderful journey.
Ka kite.